What's up, everybody? Coach Stefan here, CEO of Pursuit Health and Performance, and welcome to the Everyday Pursuit. This is the podcast where we talk about fitness, nutrition, mindset, training, basically anything fitness related you would ever want to know. But before I dive into this episode, I want to ask you guys a huge favor. If you could go like, comment, subscribe, share, or even give us a 5-star review if you feel like we're worth it, I would really, really appreciate it. Literally go pause right now. It will take you 10 seconds. Okay, go take a screenshot and post us. You can find us on Instagram at pursuit_HP. So now that I got my plug in, let's dive in the episode. So the title, Big Meals Can Make You Skinny, right? You might be like, what are you talking about? Well, I want to tell you guys something that's really important about metabolism, okay? Metabolism is actually made up of 4 different components, okay? One of those components is called TEF, thermogenic effect of food, which means when you eat food, your metabolism actually heats up, raises to break down that food. And the way that I try to look at it is the bigger meal you eat, the more your body has to heat up to process and break down the food. And then you also want to look at the ease of the food that you break down, right? If you're doing things in liquid form, it's not a lot of breakdown for your body. So if you're doing things in solid form, in theory, it could cause a little more thermogenic effect of food. Also things like eating fiber, like animal proteins. And the way that I always look at it is like, how hard is it for me to break down in my mouth? Because that's where it really starts. You know, your saliva has enzymes that are breaking down the food when it first goes in your mouth. And I don't want to go too sciencey on you guys. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But I just want you to understand that like your metabolism is influenced by a couple different things. It's influenced by NEAT, which is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So basically anything that you do throughout the day. And then your EAT, which is your exercise activity thermogenesis. And then I said your TEF, which is your thermogenic effect of food. And your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. That's how many calories you burn at rest. So I'm going to go through that one more time. I'm going to go through like in the order. Is how many calories you burn at rest. You're just chilling. You wake up in the day. Let's say you don't move at all. You literally just wake up. So it's functioning, your organs, your breathing, respiratory system, all that, your muscles just being there. Okay, that's your BMR. Now, the only way you can influence your BMR effectively really is by increasing muscle mass. And that's why strength training is so important, because even if I gain a little bit of muscle and it makes my BMR go up 50 calories, well, now I'm burning 50 calories a day extra doing nothing times 365. That's a lot of calories. I don't know, but that's a lot. Okay. Plus now that muscle, when I'm moving, when I'm working out, that muscle's with me, right? I don't leave it at home. It's with me and it's also doing more work. So you burn more calories. So that's your BMR. You're going to influence it by generally gaining more muscle. Then you have, and that influences the vast majority. I want to say it's like 60%. It's quite a bit of like the calories you burn each day. Then you have your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So cleaning, cooking, walking, getting your steps in. Well, I think getting your steps in would kind of be under exercise unless you're like just walking to walk, like here to the kitchen and I'm doing the dishes, like things that you wouldn't think of. And you might say, well, how is that possible if I'm like killing it at the gym? But you're at the gym for 1 hour. Let's say you were a construction worker and you were just like moving around and hauling things, right? I'm not talking about like a sedentary individual. Their NEAT is probably lower because they pretty much don't go and get any physical activity in. Okay. So that's very, very important to understand. Now your EAT, exercise activity thermogenesis, is like voluntary exercise. Like I'm going to the gym to work out. Okay. And that's from like 5 to 20%. By the way, we have a free metabolism guide. If you guys want, hit me up on social media. I'll give it to you. It breaks all this down in there. But I thought the episode would be cool. So that, depending, right, is like 5 to 20%. For some people, it can be way more. But for most people, it's maybe like 10% of their daily calories, maybe 15. And we'll just do simple math. Most people that go to the gym, they're burning about 350 calories. If you times that by 10, that's 3,500 calories. So maybe not. Maybe that wouldn't be 10%, right? Maybe that would be more like 15% of their daily calories, but it's not that much. We just said your BMR is 60. So, that influences a lot, right? Like building muscle is the one thing that's going to help you. Now, I know this isn't about building muscle. This is about eating big meals, But I also said the thermogenic effect of food can take place for about 10% of your daily calories. Now that might seem small to you, but if you're eating 3,000 calories a day, if my math's right, that's 300 calories. That's quite a bit of calories. Usually when somebody goes into a deficit, when they're first dieting, if they want to do like a slow diet, they would drop it by 300 calories, right? A day. So that's pretty significant in my book, right? So the fact that your meals can influence your metabolism is huge. And there's been research, and I probably should have like cited it before I got on here and had it all ready for you guys, but that's not how I do this podcast. Maybe in the future. Nobody's going to go check it anyways, but there's a lot of studies that show that eating big meals can raise your TEF. Now, I'm not saying that it's necessarily better to eat big meals. I think this is the construct. Number one, it's how many calories you get in within a 24-hour period. Even further than that, how many calories you get in within 1 week. The reason that I think that is more important is because you can undereat one day and then overeat and undereat and overeat. And in theory, at the end of the week, you'd be at the same weight, like if it averaged out, right? So some people go, oh, you have to hit your macros today. Well, not really, right? Your body doesn't reset every 24 hours. It's not necessarily on a 24-hour clock. It's on a continuous. So I like to look at it within a week span. That's why it's like, how much volume did I get in today? Does that matter? Or how much volume did I get in during the week? Well, when we're in strength training, we're worried about the week. And the reason I'm telling you that is because a lot of people will say, oh, I'm just going to do intermittent fasting and I'm going to eat these big meals because Coach Stefan said, if I eat big meals, it's going to influence my metabolism. Yeah, but there's also other things that go with eating big meals that most coaches don't talk about, maybe because they don't know or they miss it or they're not educated, whatever. But you have things like glycemic index, which is the sugar content, basically how much it spikes your blood sugar. Then you have something else called glycemic load, which has to do with glycemic index. And that also has to not only do with like how much it spikes your blood sugar, but how big is the thing? Because if I ate one Sour Patch Kid, right, that's probably like, I don't know, let's say 80 or 90. It's almost pure sugar. But if I ate one and I ate a whole bag, do you think that that's different? Of course it's different. So that's where the glycemic load comes in. And that does have an influence on how long your blood sugar is spiked for, just tons of different influences. And so you need to understand that like eating a big meal, although it can, there's also downfalls. Now, I will say that one method that's very effective in eating big meals, and I'm just going to tell you from my personal experience, and the reason is I like to use our clients as examples, but I do understand every person's body is different. So I think what's more effective, and it's not because I want you guys to copy me, but I think what's more effective is if I tell you my personal experience, and just what I've seen when I diet. That way you can't come back and scold me. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, like I think it's very beneficial to kind of just say, hey, these are my results. You could go try them. And that's the approach I have with a lot of stuff. Now, obviously for our clients, it's kind of the same way because like they are their own client, like science experiment, right? Like, hey, if I'm doing carb cycling and I have 3 days of low carbs, should I do a refeed? I'm like, yes, I think you should do a refeed day. Let's do a refeed. Let's do these big meals. Let's see if that boosts your baseline metabolism up at least for a short amount of time. And this is where it comes into play. This is the most important part. When you're dieting, AKA being at a caloric deficit, going on low calories, it's very important that you don't stay there. 90% of the clients that we get at Pursuit that I've worked with, hundreds and hundreds of clients in my 11 years of coaching, I've seen a very common theme. Almost every single person that's quote unquote fat, I'm doing air quotes if you're not watching the video, they are, overweight, whatever you want to call it. They almost always are under eating. And not just under eating, but under eating for a significant amount of times. Like they've basically been dieting for years or their whole life, or you know what I mean? And the thing is, this is how it happened. One day they're like, I'm kind of getting fat. And then they stopped eating as much and they probably lost some weight. And then eventually, because our body's super smart, it adapted. And then it said, yeah, I'm not going to keep losing weight. I'm sorry. I'm going to actually slow my metabolism down so I don't die, so I don't starve, because we're survival beings, survival mechanism. And then it just stayed slow and crappy forever. And then they weren't losing weight. So you know what they did? They ate less and less and less. How much? I mean, it's just downward spiral. I see that a lot. I can't tell you how many overweight people that I've seen that want to lose body fat that are under eating quite severely, and it's usually under eating other protein. So the reason that we want to do these refeed days, and I'll dive into that in a little bit, is you don't want to just keep dieting down. You can't just keep reducing calories. What you want to do is take a day where your body's kind of hit like a plateau, and it is hard. It's completely different for everybody. So it does take some experimentation. For me, when I did like carb cycling, I would go about 3 days low carb. On day 3, I'm feeling like dog poop. I'm tired, I'm lethargic, I'm hangry, I'm grumpy. And then I would do a refeed day because I was in a caloric deficit. If you've ever been dieting down and like an 800 calorie deficit, it doesn't feel good. It's not fun. And then, so you're looking forward to that refeed day, not only because you get a pig out, but also because it's going to boost your metabolism. It's very important that you're doing that you're not just dieting down. And it's not a huge day, but the other thing that I like about a refeed day is usually I tell my clients, don't eat like all day long, don't snack all day long, have a couple big meals. Not only is that going to raise your thermogenic effect of food and possibly have you burn more calories, but it's going to increase your metabolism. Your body works on a negative feedback loop. I've talked about the negative feedback loop in other episodes, but if you don't know what a negative feedback loop is, it's like an air conditioning unit. Air conditioning unit doesn't turn on until the temperature is actually like above what it says if you have it on auto, right? So it's this wave. It's like, it's a little bit delayed. So what happens is your body, in theory, right? So let's say I diet day 1, 2, 3, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, I eat a big meal. Friday, my metabolism's not going all the way back down. In fact, it probably might even stay up for like 48 hours, which means that if my metabolism increased, let's just throw a percentage out there, 10% more than what it normally was, now when I go into Monday, right, it's above what it was the previous Monday if I didn't do a refeed, right? And your body's still processing that. So it has to heat up. It has to use the energy source. And then the cool thing is that day you're going to be in a caloric deficit. I mean, yeah, you're feeding off of maybe some of the extra calories. And here's where it gets a little bit complicated. This is where the coaching comes in. Your weekly calories will still be lower, right? Because even if you did like 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, 3,000, and let's say my baseline was 2,500, you're like, oh, you went over 500. Yeah, so it cancels out one of those days, right? One of those days from maintenance to a surplus, if that makes sense, right? Because it's a 500 calorie difference from 2,500 to 3,000. So if I went and did that, then cool, it canceled out one day, but I still had those 2 days where I was at a 500 calorie deficit. And if I did that again, that means through the week, I'm at a 2,000 calorie deficit, 500, 500, 500, 500. I know that might sound confusing. I know you're maybe like driving or doing the math, like what the heck? That's what we do behind the scenes as coaches. And I know it sounds confusing, but that's exercise science. That's nutrition for you. And some of these numbers are, I'm not just saying to go to these specific numbers. I'm just kind of making them up as I go, but it's also not super unrealistic. And one thing that I've learned for myself whenever I do like a carb cycling, which I do like to usually use that method when I cut, it seems pretty effective for me, is I make sure that I eat pretty big meals. And one of the ways, actually, I'm going to talk about one of my clients. One of the ways his name's Kyle, one of the ways that he was doing carb cycling is I told him, like, pick your high carb day on your date night with your wife. Cause I know you're going to go, like, it allows you to go to eat sushi buffet and to go do these things and enjoy yourself. And so, during the weekday, you're busy anyways, you're running around anyways. He's a medical sales rep. So like he's busy, he's doing all these things. Save your high carb days for when you're out with your family, get the froyo, get the treat, and then who cares? You can diet down during the week. And so it wasn't that carb cycling is necessarily a more effective method than a different method. It's just lifestyle wise, it works to put somebody in a caloric deficit. Now, look, you could sit there and drop the carbs very, very evenly every single day. But for me, what I've noticed is my body adapts a little bit better to like restricting and big meals. That's what I like. I feel like it fuels better off there. And honestly, when I've done it in the past, my performance feels better. Now, I will say on the low carb days, I'm doing lower intensity, lower central nervous system activating stuff. So auxiliary, maybe I go in there and I'm doing some chest supported rows, some curls, maybe some some TRX movements. I mean, nothing where I'm like doing like big deadlifts, squats, like no big compound movements, because I'm a little tired. And and I don't have that glycogen storage in my muscle and that blood sugar. And so you have to be smart when you do carb cycling. And you don't have to just eat big meals carb cycling, right? You can also use big meals to help raise your metabolism. One thing I want to tell you though, as I did talk about how most people were under eating, and I don't want this to be missed. What you don't want to do is say, well, Coach Stefan told me big meals will increase my metabolism, and I have been under eating, so let me just go eat big meals. No, it's too much of a quick jump for your body, which is why we do reverse diets with a lot of our clients. If you don't know what that is, let's say you're at a really, really low calorie, maybe you're eating 1,500 calories a day. If we just said, hey, eat big meals, eat more. And so you're eating, 2,700 calories the next day, every day. That's such a big jump. That's 1,200 calories, it's almost doubling your calories. Your body doesn't have time to adapt, right? Because it's adaptable, remember? And so what happens is a lot of that goes to fast storage, too quick a jump. And you see it with people from, get on bodybuilding stages and they don't reverse diet correctly. And they're like, oh, I'm done with competition. And they eat. I mean, most people aren't doing this because they're bodybuilders and they're educated, but the ones that aren't, they'll cut down and then they'll eat. And this is also why people end up getting fatter after diets. Okay. What happens is they diet down. Oh, I have a wedding coming up. I have a vacation, and they starve and they don't eat, and their calories go down. I have this cruise. I have this special event, and they diet and they diet and they diet. And then as soon as they get to the cruise or the special event, what do? Binge, right? They binge. So you went from like low calories probably for a few weeks, and then this big surplus. And they're like, how did I gain 10 pounds on vacation? Yeah, your body just went, it just literally held on to everything because it was in more fight or flight mode, I don't want to say starvation mode, but kind of. And now you kind of put your body under a lot of stress. And when your stress hormones are up, you hold on to more body fat because it is energy and you are a survival being. It's very important for you to understand that. So how you're going to avoid that, right, is number one, not doing that, right? Not like going on some like crazy diet right before. You need to plan months out, and you need to diet down properly, and you need to make sure you have a good metabolism. That's very important. You have a solid metabolism, because if your metabolism's good, that won't happen to you. You could eat a surplus and your body's like, I could take that hit, right? And that's also part of the reason why you want to strength train normally. If you're strength training 4 times a day, your body's going to suck that extra fuel up way more than it would for somebody else that goes straight to their belly, straight to their love handles. It's actually going to put it to use for recovering your muscle and replenishing your carb storage in your muscles, aka glycogen. So if I were to eat big meals, I'm going to wrap this up for you. If I were to eat big meals, and I do, what I do is I'm smart about them right now. I'm not doing any carb cycling. I just want to tell you guys about that method because that's where I see the like large meals the most, and intermittent fasting, which I think they're if it works for your lifestyle, do it. But what I see the most effectively for me is when I plan my big meals effectively. Like every 2 weeks, I usually go to sushi buffet and I eat. Oh, I eat till my stomach hurts. But I also stay pretty low carb basically the whole day. I make sure I get in like half of my daily protein because I do eat a lot of protein at the sushi place. And I still have about 1,000 calories at the sushi place. Usually I probably go a little bit over. Yes, I told you I eat a lot of sushi. I give myself some room, and I also make sure right before I get some strength training in. And you know what? I literally feel full of carbs. I basically carb loaded my body, right? Because I put it in this like kind of depleted state for not eating a lot of food throughout the day. I'm pretty hungry when I get there. I also, right before I went, I got a workout. So that's my post-workout. And my body sucks up all the fuel and I'm really full. And then the next morning I wake up and I work out, usually fasted because I'm still full, and I burn off all that fuel. And here we are less than 24 hours later, and I gained probably 0% body fat. I've used all the fuel. Not only did I prime to eat that huge meal, which also is going to help my metabolism if I've been dieting down or in a caloric deficit, now I get to freaking pig out and gain no fat. Yes, it is that awesome, right? And not only do I get to gain no fat, but I use that fuel source. And I can tell because I'm in tune with my body that like I get done with that workout and I'm depleted, because at that time, let's say it's like 10, it's been, 16 hours. And like I said, my body kind of was still burning through the sushi when I ate it because it was helping it recover. And then I slept, came home, watched movie, whatever, slept, woke up, worked out. I mostly burnt a lot of it off. So if you're going to eat big meals, like that's how I do it. I definitely plan. Don't go think that big meals are just going to like help your metabolism all the time. No, that's called overeating and binging, and you're probably just going to get fatter. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about systematically using it in a smart way. And guess what? If I know that I'm going to like go on vacation, or like, let's say I'm doing a weekend trip. I live in Arizona. So let's say I'm going to Sedona, and I know I'm going to be like eating extra and eating out. I will, and it's not all the time. I'm not saying to do this, but I will, if I'm in a maintenance phase, I know that if I just stayed in a maintenance phase and then I went on a trip and I overate, I would be throwing a little bit out of my maintenance, right? I'd probably gain some extra fat. Let's say I ate 1,000 calories over every day and I just picked out. Well, I'm going to gain, almost a pound of fat over the weekend, maybe. I don't want that. So what I would do is diet down a little bit, start restricting my carbs a few days before, kind of be in a deficit. And then when I eat, that's going to actually help my metabolism a little bit. I'm going to use those calories. Once I use those eat those calories, I'm going to utilize them more because my body it wasn't starved, but it was more hungry for carbs, right? I kind of was depleting myself. Then it's going to just suck them all up. I'm going to use that fuel, and maybe I go over on my calories, but I was under a couple days before. And guess what? Then when I come back, and remember I told you to look at weekly calories, if I average it out, I probably was at the same weekly calories. So that's how I stay in maintenance. And if you guys see like me and you're like, oh, well, how does he stay lean? He takes all these trips and he eats sushi buffet and he drinks beers. This is how I do it year round. This is what I do. Now it is a little harder if you're on a cut. It's a little harder if you're on a bulk, but I go do these things and I love food and I love to eat. And it's very, very doable, but you have to be smart about it and you have to know what you're doing. So my question for you is, do you know what you're doing? Do you know how to implement this? I mean, hopefully this episode helped. If you don't, what I would do is hit me up on social media. Like I said, you can go to Instagram at pursuit_HP. You can find us on Facebook, Pursuit Health and Performance, or go to our website, pursuithp.com. Get in contact with me. I'll send you our metabolism guide. And in it, it tells you things you can control, things you can't control. It gives you cheat sheets, breakdown macros, meal timing, all that kind of stuff. I think it would be super helpful for you. If you're still lost after that, I will get on a call with you. I will help you however I can. And this is stuff that we do every single day with our clients. Okay. This is the education that I want them to learn, because our ultimate goal and this podcast is, yes, I hope it motivates you. I hope it educates you a little bit, but the ultimate goal for everybody in our company, including this project, right? This podcast, is for you to become your own coach. Like if I can transfer my brain to your brain eventually over hundreds of episodes or whatever, that's what I want. I want you to not need a coach. It's crazy, right? And the thing is, there's always going to be people that still want somebody there to help them, to hold them accountable, to be like, can you just do it for me? Can you just give me, I don't want to have any trial and error. I want to just know the method I'm supposed to do. Can you just tell me exactly? Yes, we can. And so I want to help both people, right? Maybe for you, coaching isn't it. But you need to take some action, right? Like, please don't listen to this episode and be like, oh, that was really good info, and then not utilize any of it. No, utilize it. Because I'm sure you still like to go out to eat. I'm sure you still have a social life. I'm still sure that you wish that you could go eat buffet and not gain any body fat, right? But you have to plan. You can't just guess with your fitness. And that's probably the biggest downfall I see, is people just guess. They just guess. They kind of know a little bit here, and they kind of know a little bit here about nutrition, and they kind of know that you're supposed to eat some protein, and they kind of, they know what's healthy and they know what's not healthy, and they kind of dabble and they go to the gym. It's all guessing. You have no idea what you're doing for most people. And I know, because I used to be that person, and I thought I had it figured out and I didn't. And I wish that I would have 100%. I would pay so much to go back in time and get on a structured program early in my lifting. I would have been a freaking absolute animal. If you think I'm look good now, or I'm strong now, oh my God, dude, if I knew now what I knew 10 years ago, game over. And so I was guessing the vast majority. I was a good guesser and I worked really hard, so I had some pretty good results, but I was guessing. I had no actual structure. my biggest thing is I was consistent. I loved exercising. So I went to the gym a lot. I did a lot of stuff. But anyways, I don't want to bore you guys with this. I just think it's very important that you kind of understand this construct of like listening to these episodes and then applying them. And I do have some clients and some fans that sit there and say, man, I did this in the gym, and they have conversation with me on social media. Do that. I want to talk to you. So I appreciate it, guys. I love you. Like I said, go like, comment, share, subscribe, share it on your story. If you feel like this is super helpful for your spouse or your friend or anybody on their fitness journey, please just send it to them. I want this episode to go everywhere. I mean, we don't run ads or anything, and this is just me talking in my office by myself to a camera like a crazy person. But I hope it provides value to you. I love you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.